Welcome back to the podcast. A lot of us in the maritime industry believe that to reach top in the maritime industry, you need to first become a master mariner or a chief engineer, and then only you can make a mark ashore. But our today's guest is someone who chose a different route and a mindset, and he decided not to become a chief engineer when he was on the verge of getting the promotion. Rishikesh left sailing before becoming chief engineer and went on to pursue a master's from World Maritime University and then followed by an MBA in sustainable and inclusive leadership. So his journey has taken him from ship's engine to corporate boardrooms, leading technical projects at Maersk, and now driving innovation and promotion for Evelens in Denmark. So in this episode, we would like to highlight on why it is not necessary to reach the highest rank in the merchant navy, and you can still become and put a mark for yourself in the maritime industry, and how to build a career abroad for yourselves. So Rishikesh, welcome to the podcast.
Hi Sachin, thank you so much, and also thanks for
Yes.
summarizing my career journey so far.
So let's go back to a few years when you decided on joining merchant navy. So what gave you the drive to join merchant navy, and how did this happen to you?
Yeah, okay, if I go back the career path journey, I think what I can reflect upon is I was really focused on what I would like to become in my life because I grew up in a defense background. My father was in the military. So, as a childhood memory, it only reflects that I wanted to become somebody in the army. And I have an elder brother. He is 5 years elder to me. So, he showed the path. He joined the National Defense Academy soon after 12th. So, for me, there was no doubt what I should become. So, everything crystal clear. But, when destiny unfolds, you can do whatever you want, but it will just happen how destiny is supposed to be. So, after 12th, I actually didn't get into NDA. I tried two attempts, and then I started reflecting that maybe that's not something which maybe I'm made for. So I should keep my options open. And I took 1 year off after 12th, trying to prepare for engineering entrances. And during that time, I happened to interact with some of my schoolmates and classmates who had joined Merchant Navy. And they said there's a brilliant college near Pune. It's called Tulani Maritime Institute, so you should look at it. And out of all the engineering college, I also applied for Tulani's. And then I got through it, and okay, career started in marine engineering. 4 years is a long time, but it flies really fast. And sooner or later, you realize I was in the
Yeah,
first vessel as a cadet. Yeah, that's how. So I can just summarize. I've been an accidental marine engineer, but so
yeah,
far the
that's
journey
what
is really
generally,
remarkable.
because my father was also in Indian Navy. So most of us, we either have the option of getting into the defense, or then it usually comes out to be merchant navy. Some or your other school senior is in the merchant navy, he's earning well, and then for most of
Yes,
the people in the defense
yes,
background, Tolani becomes the first institute to go in, because a lot of instructors or other people are there from the defense background. And moving on from there, when you
exactly.
joined your first ship, so were you
Yeah.
very, how did that experience shape you up? And did this feeling of, moving ashore, or like, did it come on the first ship itself, or it was something which came on gradually later in your career?
Yeah, so I think I joined my first ship in 2004 as a cadet for C-SPAN, and that also has a different, story towards it. But on the first ship, first 3 months, I kind of realized I'm in the wrong place, wrong path, and the whole story seemed blurred. But after the 3 months, it just became exactly opposite. So, that gave me a reflection in life, and it was a character building phase. I did fantastic in my cadetship actually. That kind of gave me the head start, and it was mostly because I got a different chief engineer. So even the first chief engineer was he's still in touch with me, and we are very good friends, and but that showed me a different part of cadetship where I kind of didn't imagine it to be that way, but it helped me build up a character. And the second 3 months, that is out of the 6 months, the second part of it was a new chief engineer who took me really to the basics and made sure that I had all the basics clear. In short, giving me the right platform to take a launch. So I think it's very important to see how you have your first few months in any profession. that builds up the character. So I think it shaped me up for the whole professional seagoing career. And after that, 12 years
Okay.
was
So then,
just based on that.
when did this thought of, moving ashore came into your mind and doing a master's come in?
Yeah, so I would reflect on this by when I was somewhere close to finishing my fourth engineer rank and becoming the third engineer. I said maybe it's too long to just wait and watch how I become a chief engineer. So I started looking at other options during my vacation time. So me and my best friend, we are batchmates, and then we said, okay, let's prepare for GMAT. Maybe MBA is what everybody does, so we will also do MBA. So we spent 3 4 months studying, and my God, that was a reflection. I again realized I really don't have the aptitude to build up in such a short time for such a high level of competence test when the whole world is competing. So it requires, some sort of strategic planning, and it doesn't happen over months. So I gave the GMAT, got a very decent score, which was nowhere to take me anywhere, abroad and, on a journey. So I had a very interesting conversation with the ex naval officer. He was my father's batchmate, so quite old, but also well set into his retirement. And he was doing consultancy services for some software industry to build up cyber security. And I was really amazed at how he did this transition from, being a naval officer in submarines and then doing a consultancy for cyber security. So we sat down and we started having a conversation over a coffee. And I told him my story. So we could connect because he also had the marine engineering background. And I said, I want to quit because I don't see anything in this profession. It's exciting, it gives me money, but then it's a vicious cycle. And how do I come out of it? I want something more. And then he gave me a very sound advice. And I don't want to go into the details, but the end result was that I went back sailing. And he
Okay.
told me, make sure you get your chief's license because you have done halfway through, and the remaining half is even easier than what you think, and it will give you more pleasure. So I went back with full motivation. And after that, there was no stopping. I went, cleared all my exams in first shot, and things were getting more easier, more comfortable. And being in the same company for years, people started recognizing me for everything. And they knew I was the first cadet and I will be the first chief engineer. So that was the expectations laid. But then stories unfold, right? You go into life's journey and then you start learning many things. But maybe we will touch upon this in the next question or conversation, that why should a person, leave something which is so near and dear and then choose something which is maybe
Yes,
better
because
or
if we see
equally
that,
good.
as you mentioned, everything was fine, then you got highly motivated, everything. But then what, stopped you from becoming a
Yeah.
chief engineer? Like, what exactly? Because you're already there. As you mentioned, you got your
Yes.
license and everything is there. Just few
Yes.
years and you would be there. So
Yes.
what happened then?
Yes. So a few months before this was supposed to happen, not few months, but maybe a few years, I can say, I went and did my master's during my sailing period only. So I finished, I think, 3 or 4 sailings as second engineer. Then I had saved money for my master's degree. So it was a well thought out plan. For 5 years continuously, I saved money, and I think I had estimated close to 30 lakhs as a buffer which I needed to survive for 2 years without income, and then also pay for my tuition fees. So everything I had planned it out very nicely. So 5 years saving. During that period, I also got married. When I came back from my, I think, third or fourth ship as the second engineer, I got the offer to do my masters in WMU. During that time, something interesting happened. I wanted to come to Sweden in Malmo, where WMU is based, and do my masters. But in the application process, there was some confusion, and I probably ticked the wrong box here and there. And they said, "We are very sorry. You cannot join the Sweden course because of something. You probably apply next year." And I was very sure this is the year I want to do. So I said, is there any other option? Can I do the same course somewhere else? And they said, we have a course in Dalian. And if you are interested, you can apply, and we can probably review your application for that because the process is ongoing. Then I applied, I got through, and that ship which I was sailing was actually going to Dalian in few weeks. This is how destiny is. So I said, okay, I took a shore leave. I went and saw the university. I didn't want to be a,
Yeah.
university which probably doesn't exist, let's say, because you're never sure. And I went, it was such a impressive facility they have in Dalian Maritime University. And I saw the place, I saw this is where everything happens. So I came back on board and I sent an email to the university that I'm very happy to join the course, paid the fees. My wife was home, so she helped me follow up with all the applications. I signed off from the
Yeah.
vessel, paid my own airfare because company said you really haven't finished the contract. I said no problem. I have to do something more important. I went with my wife, finished 2 years of masters in Dalian. That is where everything I would say I've developed skills. Masters is one thing,
Yeah.
but building up skills, a mindset, that is more important. And I probably learned a lot there. I got a distinction in my course, and then I was very proud to come back home expecting that I'll get a job. And trust me, there was no job. So I finished off my 30 lakhs, got a distinction, came back,
Yes.
but no job. So reflection again. So I think the storyline is that you can do any kind of education, but
Yes.
that doesn't guarantee anything after that. There is a well thought out process you should go through, and probably you should take advice from people who have gone through this. And this is why I really appreciate Sachin, you're doing this thing where we can share and build up some sort of learnings and platform.
Okay.
So I kind of went back sailing after that, and to build up some more cash reserve. I had my first child on the way, so I needed some money also. So I went back sailing, and then actually I was due for chief engineer. So and my child happened while I was on board, so I couldn't come back home. So again reflection, and then I said, okay, this is how the story is all the time. I missed a lot of events, like all seafarers. Missed my brother's wedding, sisters, this, that, name it. I said this is part of the game. So I see one more reflection, and I said, okay, now I have a degree. I have some cash reserve, and maybe I should look at what opportunities now I get. So I went through this process of applying for jobs, and that is the time Maersk was looking for, some candidates. I applied for a job in Maersk Tankers that time. And thing is that I had friends in that business, but I had no solid qualification in tankers. I was a container ship guy. So I was applying for something which was not meant for me, and that reflected in the interview. So they said everything is fine, but somehow we are not getting that spark from the candidate and the job application. So maybe you should just try again. And the HR guy came back and he just said he saw my application, but at the end there is something which he finds very interesting. And
Yeah.
if I'm open for another interview next day, uh, he will set it up. And that was again
Okay.
for Maersk, but this time for container ship and for a retrofit project manager. So that's where my shore journey opened up, and I evaluated the opportunity cost. And
Yeah.
on one side, I had to let go a chief engineer promotion, and the other side, there was a waiting opportunity at Maersk for a project manager. And very clear reflection I had in my head, and I said, okay, this
Yeah.
is what I was waiting for. I've
Yes.
prepared for this, and then
Yes.
I took the
That is
leap of
that
faith,
is
and today
really,
I'm here.
really, really amazing how things turned out and how destiny actually works. Because one decision, if you had taken that, no, I'll become chief engineer, things would have been different. One decision of you not going ashore in Dalian, things would have been very different.
Very different.
Had you moved to
Yes,
Malmo, your
exactly.
decisions and waited, so I'll apply next year, things would have
Yes.
been very different. So
Exactly. So, in short, our life is small
yeah.
decisions every day which adds up. So,
Yeah.
be conscious in your decision making
Yes.
and
Yeah.
make
So
the right
just to
decisions.
to understand one thing, because World Maritime University, from my understanding, is a university which is very good for policymakers who want to get into the policy making. What kind the curriculum which I
Yes.
have seen over there is good for
Yes.
someone who wants to get into the policy making, because I've seen
Yeah.
most of the MMD surveyors or who are sitting in these kind of positions doing that kind of a course. So when you were deciding
Yes.
on to doing a master's from WMU, was this in the back of your mind, or what made you choose WMU finally?
Yes. So I did a lot of research in
Yeah.
education when I was planning for my courses, there were not just WMU,
Yeah.
but there were some other private institutes also. But WMU ranked really high in my thoughts, mostly because I felt that the degree is one thing. You can do any kind of degree, that's not a big deal. But the networking opportunity that you will get will vary. And in this, I realized that most of the candidates, in fact, in my course in WMU Dalian, all were state sponsored. I was the only private candidate. So when you're state sponsored, you find a different pool of candidates, and they come with very solid, backing, who will eventually become one of the top. I won't say
Yes.
diplomats, but yes, one of the government level employees in some point of time. And that kind of connection you cannot buy with any kind of, money or anything. You can only buy connection of those level if you spend time with them, go through ups and downs, and then it's a lifetime bond. And that's what I was looking for. I wanted to build up a network which will last for rest of my life, rather than just do an MBA. After 2 years you're all in on your separate journey and you never meet. In fact, just a couple of months ago, one of my batchmate, he came all the way from China to Europe and he was moving around, but then he knew I'm in Copenhagen. He came, stayed with me 2 days, and we are still in touch. And then we
Yeah.
promised that, okay, next time I have to be in China again. I keep doing it because of business, but this time I need to come with family and, stay with them, move around. So the
Yeah.
relationship that I've built up is for life. And people from my batch are going to represent IMO, to represent class societies. Let's say if I'm on a vessel, I also experienced that. I went to a port and suddenly my batchmates came to know through WeChat, and they
Okay.
came on board, five of them port state control. So everybody on board was like shaking that what happened. And then I came, they hugged me and said, we are taking him, and I went out shore leave with them. So this is the level of networking one should aim for. Education is one part, networking you
Okay.
cannot buy, you just have to build it. And WMU gives you that
Okay.
opportunity to
That's
build up a very
really amazing
strong
to
network.
understand. Just to add here, so let's say someone is a third engineer, or someone is a fourth engineer, or a third officer, or a second officer. Do you think WMU would be a right choice for them, considering their early stage in their career, and they might not have that kind of growth mindset at that point? So, do you think WMU would be a good choice for these candidates as well?
Yeah, I mean,
Yes.
see, it's very difficult to generalize a statement, but what I would say is that I do this kind of question and answers with a lot of young seafarers, and I try to explain to them in a simple way that you have to break down the whole story into three parts. One is start, one is middle, and one is the end. So, but most important is to figure out the end, where you want to be. If you can make that story for yourself, then rest of the pieces can be added up. And another thing is that the end goal you have to define based on your personal strength and weaknesses, and also what you aspire to be. So if you can define that end goal, that okay, one day I want to be this, and not that okay, this person is this, so I will become this. No, that is a very wrong way of setting goal. First, a self reflection has to be done, and very honest and blunt self
Yep.
reflection, because we all have strength, that is for sure, and we all have weaknesses, so this is also sure. So we need to sit down, make this very defined analysis, basis that identify maybe 10 candidates who you really look up to, and then try to see does this fit into this person's, and then make a goal. And then it doesn't necessarily mean that this person took this plan, so I should take that plan. So I think this is a very systematic planning you need to do. But planning is 80% of the game, I would say. You make a good plan, then everything will work. So WMU is a good story, but
Yes.
not
Yeah.
necessarily a good
And
story for everyone.
let's,
Yeah.
jump back to starting at Musk. Musk being one of the best organizations to work for, because I have my family relative who used to work in Musk for 5 years. So I know how the work culture in Musk is, and you were a project manager. So first, let's start with what is the role of a project manager for seafarers who don't know what project management is, and then let's talk about how your life was when you moved ashore.
Yeah. So, as a project manager, you're basically managing maybe one big project or multiple projects, small ones, based on the resource allocations you get from the company. So, you're basically doing a project that means something out of the ordinary. It's not a day-to-day task. So, you will be given a goal that, let's say, I was in the machinery department. There are three departments when I was there in Maersk: electrical, machinery, and naval architecture. Basis these three big pillars, you will get a specific project. So, as a project manager, you will be supposed to handle the budgets, then execution, and also manage the risk. So, you will have some site teams and some vendors, and then you're supposed to execute. Let's say I was in the retrofit team in the beginning, so a kind of a retrofit project will be there, let's say for ballast water treatment system or exhaust gas scrubber system, turbochargers, main engine, any kind of machinery related projects you'll be getting. And basis that, the company will try to analyze if it's a good business case to implement on larger scale, or should they just shut it down. So these kind of projects would be there. So, as a project manager, this is the core job. You'll be managing projects to execute it and take learnings from it. Coming to the question how it was in Maersk and my learnings, I spent 5 years in total in Maersk, and I think I'm very fortunate that I got into Maersk. And
Yeah.
we touched upon that story in the last question, how accidentally it happened. But most of the people who I have come across in Maersk have not joined Maersk as a straight sea to shore opportunity. They generally go to other smaller
Yes.
organization where they build up competencies, build up the right skills, and then they get the right opportunity in Maersk to join. But as you know, Maersk is a big company, so there are huge expectations and huge requirements to qualify into a particular role. Here, my master's degree and my sailing experience, and also a particular research topic that I did. That was also very, you would say, lucky that I chose that topic, because that time the convention was not ratified, and all my batchmates, since they were government funded, they were doing projects which are already ratified and in place so that the government could get the benefits out of these candidates immediately. But I was free to choose a topic, and I chose a topic which was not yet implemented, but I could see it coming. So I kind of timed it well. So Morse was looking for a guy with this kind of skills who knew the convention and who could also execute retrofit projects. So learnings were exponential in Morse because of the high level of projects that they do. They are pioneers in doing new initiatives. So you get to expose yourself to new initiatives, new technology. And I think that's where I built up all my
Yeah. So then,
execution
how would
character
you
in myself.
compare your life on board a ship and your life when you just started working ashore? How challenging it was, or what were the few, differences you felt in the work life, and which one
Yes.
would you eventually prefer?
Yes, that's a good question, and also something most of the people ask me, that is it a right choice to move ashore or should I just stay on board? Is the life on the other side greener or is it more difficult? But I would say life everywhere is the same. Whether you're on board, where you're ashore, or you're, let's say, in space or anywhere, it is more or less the same. But what my character was, since I came from this defense background, is that every 2 years my father used to get posted. And you're in a new school and new environment and you adapt. So I've changed 10 schools in my lifetime. I've had to adjust into a new bedroom every time 2 years change, every time new friend circle. So you need to build up a personality where you're ready for change. If you're not ready for change and you expect life to remain always happy and always safe and always secure, then one day you will be surprised. So this character building, that ready for a change, but if change comes, how to handle it. So I think that helped me a lot. So when I moved ashore, different kind of work style, different kind of expectations from your colleagues. So you need to learn fast in the first few months and start acting in the same way, delivering the results. On board, the mindset is different, so you have to work differently, and that's why you'll also see some seafarers struggling a lot initially, and then
Yeah.
quitting the career because they're not able to adapt, and they see that this is a very high workload and very high pressure. But similar kind of pressure can come on the
Yes.
shore side, but not at the same frequencies. It comes and goes in different levels, so you need to read these patterns and try to match the wave. Then you will, when the waves are high, you will also get high reward,
Yes.
and when the waves are low, you should know how to duck and
Yes.
avoid the impact of the wave, right? So I think that's the summary, that if you know how to adapt, you
Yes,
will
and definitely,
find
because
a
this is
solution in
also,
everything.
you rightly mentioned that the mindset with your previous upbringing came in very handy to you here. Because
Mm,
whenever a lot of people
mm,
talk to me, they have stayed in the same city for a long time, they have grown up in the same city, and for them, moving ashore means now they should find a job within their city.
mm.
And I feel that no, that is not possible. You have to adapt, you have to change, you have
Yes,
to get out of the city and live there if you are it. But many people are not ready to do that, and that's where I think the mindset of adaptability comes in very rightly.
yes, yes. And if you look at nature also, over these years and millions of
Yeah.
years, many species have just survived. Why? Because they have adapted. And some species have not adapted. Global warming, change,
Yep.
some other invasive
Yes.
species coming here and there, so they
Yes.
perish.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
law of
And
nature
so
is
you
adapt.
spent 5 years at Maersk. Then after that, how did you get a job in Copenhagen? Then how did you move to Denmark then?
Yes, yes. Yeah, that's also a very nice story to tell, that, everybody whom I come across, even in shore job, they aspire to work abroad. Most of them, I won't say all, but most of them would aspire to work abroad. Primarily, one reason they would say is that there's more exposure, more learning. And same for me. I had the same philosophy that if I go abroad, then I will get more exposure, more learning, and a different kind of knowledge base that I can use for future. But in Maersk, I had never planned that I would come to Copenhagen. It's just that the Maersk headquarter was in Copenhagen, so one of the straightforward opportunity came in the department that we are looking for a resource to in Copenhagen, and this position is open for all locations. So who all want to apply, they can apply. So we were a team of, I think, 12 colleagues in the department. All 12 applied, you know. And everybody was very keen for this position. So, and I was also keen. But, one thing I was very happy about myself was that the previous 3 years that I was in Maersk, I was getting very good appraisals. And in Maersk, there's a rating from 1 to 5, 5 being the highest. And I was securing 5 ratings for last 3 years. So that was extraordinary. So I knew that at least on the competencies and day-to-day deliverables, I would stand a strong chance. So it worked out in my favor, and they offered a job in Copenhagen. So relocation was provided by Maersk. So I said okay. And then my whole family, that time I had only one kid, and we said okay, let's move. My wife told me this is not the right choice. We are well settled in India. And I think that gave me one more reflection later on, that I tell all people who ask me, should we move abroad?
Yeah.
So if you are single, I think it's much easier. You can take decision based on your social responsibility. Let's say your parents, brother, sister, whoever you have a smaller circle of influence. But as soon as you're married, you have kids and all, then your social responsibility is towards the family also. So do a very good in-depth study how life will change when you move abroad, because it's not the profession thing. 7 hours
Yes.
you'll be in
True.
office, but the rest of the hours you're home. So you need to do a complete evaluation of how life will change after moving abroad. But we moved. Now it's been more than 6 years, almost coming to the seventh year in Copenhagen. So all in the
Yeah.
family learnt this journey. And I think because of MERS, I came to
Okay,
Denmark.
that's
Otherwise, I
that's
wouldn't
really
have been
amazing.
here.
So, how do you feel about living in Denmark now? Do you think there are the opportunities which are available there, especially for seafarers, are they more abundant, or is it the same in India and over there?
So, answering it straightforward, in
Yeah,
Copenhagen, the job opportunities are very limited, I would say. And they
yeah,
also have a very high requirements. So if you see a job
Yeah.
post for, let's say, any marine engineer here, it's a global company, most of them, so there will be candidates from all over the world who will apply for it. And it's a purely competency based selection, so the competition is quite tough, I would say. In India, there are more companies, more vacancies. I also say that there are more applications, but I at least felt in Denmark it's quite a competitive market. Even though the population is small, but the vacancies and
Yeah.
numbers of opportunities versus candidates,
Yeah, and
it's quite
also,
tough, I
I'm
would
not sure
say.
if that's the same case in Copenhagen, Denmark as well. In Norway, if someone joins one particular job, they spend maybe 10, 15, 20 years in the same job, or even they retire from the same company itself. So I think it makes it more difficult to find jobs in the new segment because
Yes.
people are not leaving as such.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, like right now, I work for Everlens, and previously it was
Yes.
known
Yes.
for as MAN Energy Solutions. If you walk in the company corridor, you will find posters for 25 years anniversary,
Yes.
30 years anniversary, 40 years anniversary. And if you talk to colleagues, their father, mother, they have worked in this company,
Yes.
grandfathers. So it's generation after generation in the company. And you're right, in Scandinavian countries, especially,
Yeah.
loyalty towards one employer is very high, both ways. So employer takes really good care of their employees, and the other way around. So mostly people will
Yeah.
not change companies just for money or anything
Yes.
else, because the pay disparity is very small. So you can apply for 100 jobs,
Yes,
the
yes. Because
salary
even
difference
if
would
you get
be
100,000
negligible.
kronas increase in your wages, that would reflect to 1 to 2,000 kronas per month. So it is
Yes.
of
Yeah, exactly. So we all did the calculations in maths here
yes,
and then realized that so much of effort
yes,
in changing jobs is not worth it unless
yes,
you see other than money. If it's building up a new set of skills, new set of opportunities to work with new projects,
yes,
I think then the decision changes. But if it's purely
yes,
monetary,
yes. Because
here it's
as
very
such, it's
difficult.
already because I've seen here many people who are here in Norway as well. They have been in the same company for years and years and years. And even let's say if one company has stopped and they, started a new company, then the previous set of employees hired here and they start the new company again. So I'm like,
Yes,
it's so. After
exactly.
this, then how did you,
Yes.
started off thinking of doing an MBA then? Because you mentioned earlier that you wanted to do a, you gave GMAT and everything. So then after doing a master's already,
Yes.
then why did you feel the need of doing a
Yes.
executive MBA then?
Yes. Yeah. So basically,
Yeah.
I also switched jobs in Denmark after 2 years in Copenhagen Maersk. Then I saw a new job in that time MAN, now Everlands. And this was purely because I was building up a new set of skills that is from pure technical in Maersk coming to a more sales and more technical sales role. So I kind of spent 2 years building up competencies for the new job. And after that, I realized that I have some spare time to also invest in my skill sets, rebuilding my new skills. And MBA, I think, is a fantastic, course to do. And if people are really keen for something, building up their managerial skills and building up new set of skills, MBA is a must. And I realized that in Everlens, they encourage people also to build up new competencies. There are some internal courses, and then this was purely my own initiative, because I always believe if it's for myself, then I don't need some third
Yeah.
party to invest in me. If they want, it's fair and fine, but I never base my decisions on that. So I invested my own time and money. Company gave me some
Yeah.
relaxation on tasks so that I could focus on MBA. But yeah, it was purely to build up my knowledge base,
Yeah.
skill sets for the future. One
Yes,
day I'm sure I
definitely.
will
Because I think it's
need
a
the skill sets
continuous
again.
reinventing yourself after a few years, especially in a career, Ashore. But
Yes,
to add in a
yes,
question here, let's say
yes,
what I understand and what I feel, this is my thought process. Just you can tell what do you feel about it. I feel that whenever someone moves ashore, instead of doing an MBA right away, they should first get into the job, understand how the company works, spend maybe a year or two with them, and then once they are set up in their shore job and they feel that okay, everything is fine now, especially junior officers should look into getting an MBA, because that will deepen their understanding of how the organization is actually working and help them build skill sets for the management roles where they can compensate themselves without the senior rank experience which they don't have of sailing or with the COC. So do you think this is still relevant, or this can work for many people?
In short, absolutely agree. This is also my suggestions. And I think we all just spoke about this journey that I went through, and, upfront investing all your savings
Yes.
for a degree and then realizing there's nothing for you ashore. Most of people feel that this course or MBA or whatever they do will make them stand out from the other candidate pools, and that will give a competitive edge. But okay, some stories are like that, but most of the stories are not like that. And we have learned it through our journey and experience. So, absolutely agree. I actually do my own consultancy also to help candidates navigate this kind of situations. And I also try to analyze their profile and give them a logical answer that what you invest today necessarily doesn't mean that it turns out into an opportunity. So take an opportunity, whatever level it comes. Most of the people who do a transition from sea to shore say that I
Yeah.
want a equal compensation or a higher
Yes.
compensation. Lower is not acceptable. But in my journey, I have seen so many fantastic examples where people have taken a opportunity with a lower compensation, but with a higher exposure for the company. And they climbed ladder much higher than me, much faster. And you just need the right skills
Yes.
to, make a big impact. So never judge
Yes.
an opportunity based on compensation. That is secondary. Take it as what you can make out of it. So if it's a opportunity in digital skill sets, I think that's fantastic. If it's about, making some new innovative projects, fantastic opportunity. Okay, if it's a technical superintendent, I have seen many people do that. It's a good opportunity. I'm not degrading it, but then
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
level of exposure is
Yeah.
also same, like
Yeah.
what you were see, sure, more or less the
Yes.
same story, and you will limit yourself. So, in my view, if it's a third engineer, fourth engineer, don't aim for something purely technical.
Yes.
Go for something which has a higher impact, and also where you feel confident that you can do something.
Yeah.
Not necessarily everybody is good with AI or, Power BI or something. So see how you can utilize your skills, and if you feel that you're very good with machines only and not with digital innovations, then focus on that path. Then
Yeah, definitely.
you
So
have a
just to
different
add on here,
story to
as you
write.
were mentioning, not to focus on technical superintendent roles. What I feel is, and you can just tell from your experience as well, that if you expose yourself to non-mariners in the beginning of your career transition, and you start looking into different avenues available for your skill sets, do you think the growth is going to be much better rather than if you're just stuck within a pool of mariners where the talk is still about ships, 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 that's all, and rather than being with a pool of people who are working in a different direction, different set within the maritime industry itself, but are not technically only mariners?
Yeah. See, I also answer this question in this way that we have to look at
Yes.
our career as good 30, 35 years, not just 5 years. So if you look at the last 10, 15 years, there has been remarkable changes. Some profiles have become so generalized and obsolete that, it's very difficult to get a good pay package. And some jobs have become so much in demand that there's a high compensation there. So you have to time your transition in a way where you can see the next 30 years as the right direction, and not ending up 30 years straight away, but how you can move and navigate through putting yourself into different kind of colleagues, environment, exposure, stakeholders will only make you more hybrid and more generalized to adapt to this 30 years, and then you can focus on your specializations. But the moment you limit yourself to a particular set of pool of people, then you're general, very specific, very specialist. And then to jump out
Yes.
of that to another pool is also very difficult. The moment you apply, they will just see you as a very technical superintendent or
Yes.
very specific to something. And then it's very difficult to change. But the moment you build up, different stakeholder experience, small projects like this, something like that, then you can play upon that for the next role. Because I've also mentioned my last, experience where I was trying for a job in Maersk. I didn't fit into this Maersk tankers role, but Maersk line was really looking for it just because I had something, one line in my CV, and that was bothering them for 8 months to find the candidate. But that just one line in the CV pulled me up and said, okay,
Yes.
we want you to join us. So have a various level of
Yes,
exposures
definitely,
for
definitely.
something which
Well
is
put,
in
very
demand.
well put over here. And then moving on from there, let's say if there is something, let's talk about this first, that a lot of marine engineers, especially, they are not very much, communicating with the shore parties when they are especially working on board. And because of this, I'm not generalizing this, but a lot of time it happens that the communication skills do not reach the way it can be reached, and they find a little difficulty when moving ashore. So, how would you suggest for a marine engineer who is early into their career where they can build up their communication skills very, because I think communication skills is one of the most important skills when you are transitioning ashore.
Yes, absolutely. And I can tell you, as an engineer, I realized when I used to talk to my navigation counterparts how different communication levels we have, and how expressive the other party could be. And whereas on this engineering side, the level of expressiveness and the level of clarity varies. It is very, very important to build up the right communication skills and also the right mindset, because as an engineer most of
Yeah.
the time we are quite silent because of the work environment, and we are delivering our messages through either sign languages or emails to the shore. So we kind of forget that there is something
Yeah.
that is fantastic, that is to speak, and how to speak and how to communicate with the right with the right level of communication frequencies. So this comes with time. But I also say that, when I was not a seafarer, I was quite introvert and I was also very shy person.
Yeah.
But being a seafarer, it brought a new character out of myself. So I lost the fear of public speaking, and then I could speak in front of unknown 100 people. Right now, I travel the world and I go and speak at conferences, and it only came because I was a seafarer. And you're not afraid of speaking in public because you build up this kind of character in yourself that when you speak, you will speak the truth, you will speak the right thing, and you will
Yeah.
speak a knowledge based conversation which will be able to resonate with your audience. So I think this comes with time, but as an engineer, you need to work upon it and you to consciously look into it, that how is the right communication done ashore. When you talk to your manager, is it good to write emails or is it good to just
Yeah.
talk to him? Because each person is different. Some people like it on email, nothing else. But if he likes it on email, then how should I communicate? Should I just give him all the information in one go? Should I just write the headline and rest I say I will talk to you? All this thing you will learn as you progress into your career, but having the mindset is most important, to be conscious that there are different levels of
Definitely.
communication, so
And
how to
let's,
adapt.
dwell upon this one question, which most of the seafarers who are looking into transition is that, do I really need to become a senior officer, not just a master marine or chief engineer, but even a second engineer or a chief officer to find better opportunities ashore? How would you recommend someone about this?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
there's no fixed storyline
Yes.
behind this. I've mentioned that,
Yeah.
some of my previous
Yeah.
colleagues, they were just one sailing experienced fourth
Yes.
engineers, but now they are, very top level people, even chief vice president and all that level. So there is no fixed answer to it, but the answer that I can give is that basically, if you are
Yeah.
looking at a very specialized profile throughout your life, like a very senior technical superintendent, one day you want to become, then head of technical director, then getting a chief license and
Yeah.
sailing as a chief engineer is definitely a good idea. That will build up your competencies based, and you can use those
Yeah.
competencies in your next shore job. But if your idea is very vague, you don't know that, no, technical director, yes, if I get that I will become, but I can also become something else. I can become head of commercial. I can also become some R&D specialist, director of R&D. Then getting chief engineer license and selling as a chief engineer, it doesn't add more value to your profile. You might as well save the time, move ashore, and use that time to build up your character and personality and all the skill
Yeah.
sets for what you could aspire. So
Yeah.
look at it in a more holistic way rather than just saying that, okay, if I become chief engineer, tomorrow my shore
Yeah.
counterparts will look at me at a much higher pedestal. No, it is not like that. It will
Yeah.
only, people will look at you at what you can deliver in your current role and what
Yeah,
are
definitely,
capable of.
definitely.
And that
Very
varies,
well put. And just to touch upon this final one thing is that a lot of seafarers want to, move abroad, where they think of moving abroad. It's not just seafarers, general
Mm.
population in India itself, but seafarers as well. They want to move abroad.
Yes,
How would you recommend them to, look into this
yes.
kind of an opportunity? Should they first do a master's in that country where they want to move, or find an organization which has offices abroad as well and then wait for an opportunity to come, or what could be a good strategy for this kind of opportunity?
Yeah. So I think right now
Yeah.
it's very interesting to see how geopolitical situations are evolving, especially in the US, in Canada, and in
Yeah.
Europe, and then also Australia. All these places are kind of getting impact
Yes.
results of high influx of immigration, and it has become a topic of
Yeah.
debate at various levels. So doesn't necessarily
Yeah.
mean what was 5 or 10 years ago
Yeah.
is right today, and it will be the same thing in next 5 10 years. So if a seafarer is planning to move abroad, I think my journey was probably the best
Yeah.
example, where a company takes you abroad and gives you a job, and then you settle down rather than going as a student and then finding the job. I think that's a good
Yeah.
option if you're young, if you're single, and you're initial in your career. Go because you have less baggage,
Yeah.
your dead weight is less, you will move fast, you'll be agile, and then you will move in the
Yeah.
situation, because living abroad is not the same as India. There is a lot of things you need to do yourself, a lot of
Yeah.
responsibilities outside the home also. So which you don't have in India. You can rely Swiggy, Zomato, anything. I go vacation to India, and then I suddenly realize that I have so much of energy reserve
Yeah.
which I used to consume when I'm living
Yeah.
abroad. But here I can just sit back and press a button and
Yes.
everything comes to the doorstep, in minutes. So when you come abroad, quality
Yeah.
of life will change for good or bad, depending how it is. But the intention of coming abroad should purely be based on individual's requirements. So if you feel you can build up a new career path based on new competencies, yes, good idea. How to do it? If you're young, I feel best is to come as a student, look for jobs, and then
Yeah.
move abroad. Because if you're young, abroad companies will probably get more list of candidates, so
Yeah.
you won't fit the cutoff list most of the time. So it's difficult. If you're experienced person, then maybe joining a company in India, I say always
Yeah.
join a company in India, do well there 2 3 years, and then within the company migrate to the other office which you wish to. That's easier, more time consuming, but less risk, less strenuous. But if you do it yourself,
Yeah,
I think
definitely,
it requires a
definitely.
lot of
Very,
effort.
very well put. Moving on from there, now you are working with Everlens itself, and you are leading the regional promotion. So what I understand from this is that this is a more of a sales-oriented role. So how do you think seafarers can become good salesmen, because it's something which we are not used to, because we are dealing with 10 to
Yes.
15 people on board, and then we are very authoritative at times, but that's not how you have to be with the clients when you are
Yes.
just showing them your product, what benefits it is. So
Yes.
how can a seafarer become a good salesman?
Absolutely. I think here I can answer.
Yes,
First, let me give you a description about my job. So
yes,
I'm working in Everlands as a senior promotion
yes,
manager,
yeah,
and we don't
yes,
call it sales department. We call it promotion
okay,
because in Everlands we are basically a design house. We make the designs for two-stroke engines, and then our licensees
yeah,
basically produce it and sell it to the shipyard. Then the shipyard
yeah,
install it on a vessel and sells it to the ship owner. So as a promotion
okay,
department, we are supposed to talk to the ship owner in order to promote our product and more or less
okay,
influence the decisions in favor of the company so that they select Everland's product, and we have our licensees who will sell the product to the shipyard. So when I was in Maersk, I looked at this profile and I said, my God, this will be a challenge because
yeah,
I have to now do something different.
yes,
And sales, always feels like pressure. So you have a target. The
yes,
moment you get a target, there is a pressure. But the moment you have
yeah,
pressure, you will also try to perform. And the moment you perform, you will see results, and the results gives you pleasure. We have neurons and all these hormones in our brain, which gives a very happiness syndrome to us the moment we achieve
yes,
something which we worked for. And this job basically does that you have projects, and on a global new building storyline, each year averagely around 1,000 ships are built all over the world for two stroke. So imagine you are having the opportunity to influence
yes,
1,000 ships. We have only 365 days, and we
yeah,
have to influence 1,000 vessels.
yes,
So there is a huge opportunity. It's not like in an industry
yeah,
where maybe one project is being worked upon. I talk to
yeah,
many people who are working for one sales project, which they have to work for 5 years, then it get materialized, and they get great thrill out of it. Here,
yeah,
every day can be a success or a failure. So it's very interesting. And in my job, I am
okay,
responsible for promotion in the Middle East, Africa, which include India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and then South Korea, and Americas, which is like right from Canada, US, down below, Brazil, Mexico, Peru, all these South American countries.
okay,
Then in Europe, I have Poland and Germany.
yes,
So you can see the spread is wide, and it also brings up
yes,
opportunities to talk to different customers. And each
yes,
region has a different character to it. So you need to understand this background of the country, then the background of the person, the background of the individual ship owners. And when I applied for this job, from the day I put up an
yes,
application till I actually joined the job, it took me 8 months. So it was not a small journey. 8 months is almost like a year, and waiting for a new job to join for 8 months was difficult. But why did they select me? Because
yeah,
they realized talking to me was fun, and I was pleasant to talk to, and I could not make anybody move out of the conversation because
yeah,
they kind of eventually start talking to me. And
yes,
this is what we need in sales, as you said. You need to have a soft skill. You need to have understanding, and understanding comes from probably my technical background. That when I talk to a ship owner, he
yes,
probably could be cribbing about my product, or he could be very happy about my product.
yes,
So both ways I need to be listening. So you need to be a very good listener with your ears open rather than with a frame of mind that no, this is my
yes,
product. My product is always good. No,
yes,
we have sailed on board, we have seen failures, and we also need to listen, we need to understand how to help the customer solve it. And this is where Everlens is always strong because we never give up on the customer, good or bad. We will try to see how to support the
yeah,
customer wherever he is or whatever is the challenge. And this probably mindset took 1 or 2 years for me to hone and master it, but we have colleagues in the department who are been there for ages, so you need to be in their wings and try to understand how things work and how to handle different situations. Now it's been almost more than 5 years,
yes,
so
yes.
it's become
Because
part
in
of
India,
my daily
when someone
life.
talks sales, it goes in the wrong direction. But what I have learned from being in the maritime industry, sales is a very, very lucrative profession. not just monetary wise, but the kind of connections you will build and where your career can go. So you should not just
Yes,
be focused on one aspect. If you
yes,
can get into sales direction within the maritime industry, it's really going to be very amazing for your career. That's what I've realized.
yes, yes. I've tried to see that all the top guys in companies,
Yes.
what is their core
Yes,
background? So
definitely.
either they are finance or they are sales,
Yes.
you know.
Yes.
None of them are head of technical or anything
Yes.
because that kind of
Definitely.
limits their
And are there any
mindset, you
final
know.
tips for any seafarer who is looking into moving ashore? If you would just want to give them three tips that, before you start anything and, thinking of decision of moving ashore, these are the three tips you must follow.
Yeah. So I think most important message that I wish to communicate is that there is a long period required for planning. Planning is everything, and that's because I say the start is the most important part of
Yes.
a process if you want a good end. And that's why you see all the athletes, they practice the start. They will keep doing the start so that they get this 5 to 10% better than the others who are in the start point. And this start will only come good if you plan, if you practice, and same for a job. The moment you join a
Yes.
job, the first 3 months is called probation, but it is looked at differently, thinking that this is where I need to survive. No, it should be looked as this is where I need
Yes.
to thrive and excel. Just deliver more than the expected results, and then you're off for the best rest of the journey. So start is the most important part of the whole story, and the rest, execution and the goal, is destiny,
Yeah.
and this is not in your control. So you could have a very good start, but then let's say something happens during the process and you don't achieve the goal. That is destiny, and that was you have to also have a content approach in life that okay, this is how situation evolved and you did your best, and this is something out of your control. But so overall your career journey should have a very good start, and to make a good start you need to have very good colleagues, very good friends, very good mentor. Try to find a good mentor who could support you, without any intentions of anything else but purely to give and support. Try to build up a network of these kind of people around you who can guide you and support you. And then I think
Yes.
once you have a good start, the rest is up to you
Yes.
and your
Definitely.
destiny, and all everything adds up, right? So yes. But yeah, and then lastly, I think we've touched upon a good start, a good network. And the last is, you need to also look at your long-term vision. So long-term visions are very difficult to objectify. So you need to simplify it, break it down. And you should break it down in my books again in three parts. So something in a short-term vision that you see in, let's say, 6 months to 1 year, what you want to achieve. Then mid-term measures that you see in 2 to 3 or 5 years, whatever, and a long-term vision. So you try to write it down. Keeping it on the head is very difficult to visualize all the time. And then if you write it down, you can reflect upon it. So as a young seafarer, whether you're in navigation or you're an engineer, you need to do this kind of exercise with yourself.
Definitely amazing conversation we have had today, and I'm definitely sure anyone who listens to this should be able to transition to a shore-based career with full confidence now. And thank you very much.